People are uncomfortable saying it out loud right now, but that's exactly why this conversation is detonating across the NFL landscape. Because the idea that Bo Nix might walk into Week 16 and look overwhelming against Trevor Lawrence is not supposed to feel normal, and yet here we are. This isn't supposed to be the script. This isn't how the hierarchy was drawn up. Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be the safe bet, the franchise cornerstone, the quarterback whose potential has been discussed for years as inevitable greatness. Bo Nix was supposed to be the question mark, the wait and see, the system guy, the one people quietly doubted could carry a team when the stakes got real. And now, the bold prediction hanging in the air is that Bo Nix might be too much for Trevor Lawrence in one of the most consequential games of the season, with playoff seeding, momentum, and credibility all colliding at once. That's not just a football take. That's a challenge to perception, to reputation, to the way this league assigns belief. Because when you strip away the draft narratives and the long-term projections, what's left is what's happening right now. And right now, the Broncos are sitting in a position of power, confidence, and control, while the Jaguars are staring at a road game in one of the most hostile environments in football, knowing that this matchup could define how seriously anyone takes them when January arrives. This is why the Broncos versus Jaguars matchup in Week 16 has suddenly become one of the most discussed games on the schedule. After Week 15, the AFC picture tightened, clarified, and intensified all at once. Jacksonville and Pittsburgh are trying to widen gaps in their respective divisions. The Bills are making things interesting in the AFC East. And looming over everything is Denver, already clinched into the playoffs and now staring at a scenario where the number one seed is actually on the table. It's complicated, it requires help, and everyone acknowledges it's a lot. But the fact that we're even talking about Denver in this position says everything about where they are. They just came off a comeback win against the Packers at home, a game where momentum flipped, confidence surged, and the building felt alive again. Now they face the Jaguars, a 10-win team with playoff aspirations of their own, led by Trevor Lawrence, coming off a massive 6-touchdown performance. The stakes are real, the narratives are colliding, and if you enjoy deep dives that cut through the noise and get to the heart of what these games actually mean, make sure you subscribe and drop a like, because this is the stretch of the season where identities are exposed. The bold prediction that Bo Nix could be too much for Trevor Lawrence doesn't come from hype alone. It comes from context. Denver controls its destiny in ways most teams don't. Even before getting into the one-seed scenarios, they are in position to clinch the AFC West, and that alone changes how opponents approach them. Playing in Denver at Mile High is never just another road game. The altitude, the cold, the noise, the energy, it all compounds, and the discussion made it clear that if the Broncos get to play at home deep into the postseason, the rest of the league should be on alert. This is a team that currently leads the NFL in sacks, and that defensive front feeds off the crowd. Every snap gets louder, every third down tighter, every mistake magnified. That environment matters, especially for a visiting quarterback who needs rhythm and timing. What's quietly fueling the Bo Nix conversation is how comfortable he's become in those moments. He's already been through playoff atmospheres. He's already gone on the road into chaos. Now he's operating with that same intensity at home, with the crowd behind him instead of against him. Against the Packers, his confidence showed. He wasn't just reacting, he was dictating. And that's the shift people are responding to. Early in the season, the question was whether Denver could win with Bo Nix. Then it became whether they could win consistently. Now the conversation has moved to whether he can be the reason they win. That's not a small leap. That's a quarterback crossing into dangerous territory for opponents. On the other side, the Jaguars are a fascinating study in unrealized control. They could technically have this locked up already. They allowed Houston, with a second-string quarterback, to come back from a 19-point deficit and split those games, and that one moment is hanging over their season. Instead of security, they're traveling to Denver needing a statement. Trevor Lawrence just threw 6 touchdowns, a performance that reignited all the conversations about his ceiling and reminded everyone why the league keeps waiting for him to fully arrive. But the subtext hasn't changed. Potential is still chasing consistency. The Jaguars can run the football, their defense is opportunistic, and there's a new mindset on that side of the ball that's clearly taken hold. They can be dangerous. No one denies that. But the margin is thinner than it should be for a team in this position. That's where the comparison between Bo Nix and Trevor Lawrence becomes so uncomfortable. Lawrence is still being discussed in terms of what he could be, while Nix is being discussed in terms of what he's doing. That doesn't mean Lawrence isn't capable of taking over this game, but it does mean the pressure is different. Lawrence is walking into a hostile environment where mistakes will be punished immediately. Nix is walking into a familiar setting where every positive play amplifies belief. That asymmetry matters, especially late in the season. The conversation around Denver keeps coming back to danger. Dangerous because of the defense, dangerous because of the environment, dangerous because of how quickly confidence has grown. If they were to somehow secure the 1 seed, the idea of teams having to go through Mile High all the way to the Super Bowl is not something anyone is excited about. Even without that, the Broncos have already shown they can swing momentum within a game, flipping energy with 1 turnover, 1 sack, 1 drive. That's what happened against Green Bay. A single interception shifted the emotional balance, and Denver took control. That's not coincidence. That's a team that knows how to press when the opening appears. For Jacksonville, this game is about validation. The AFC looks very different than it did when they last made a run. Certain powers are no longer in the picture, and opportunity is there. But opportunity without seeding is fragile. The discussion made it clear that for the Jaguars to make a serious run, they likely need at least the number 2 seed. Traveling deep into the playoffs is a different challenge. That's why this Week 16 matchup feels like more than a regular season game. It feels like a preview of what January would look like if these teams crossed paths again. When analysts say we'll learn a lot about the Jaguars this week, that's not a cliché. It's literal. Can Trevor Lawrence maintain composure when the environment is stacked against him? Can the Jaguars' opportunistic defense create chaos without feeding the Broncos' momentum? Can they run the ball effectively enough to quiet the crowd and keep Denver's pass rush from teeing off? And on the other side, can Bo Nix continue this trajectory where confidence turns into command, where he's not just surviving games, but shaping them? The boldness of the prediction isn't rooted in disrespect toward Trevor Lawrence. It's rooted in the reality that Denver, right now, is trending upward with clarity, while Jacksonville is still negotiating its identity under pressure. That doesn't mean the Jaguars can't win. It means the path is steeper. And in the NFL, steep paths late in December are where seasons crack. That's why this game matters. Not because of headlines, not because of hot takes, but because it sits at the intersection of belief and proof. Bo Nix has believers now, and belief is contagious when it's backed by results. Trevor Lawrence still has believers too, but they're waiting for the moment where projection turns into inevitability. Week 16 gives both quarterbacks a stage. One is defending a rise. The other is defending a reputation. And that's why the idea that Bo Nix could be too much for Trevor Lawrence doesn't sound crazy anymore. It sounds like the kind of uncomfortable truth that defines seasons.